Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing a Commander deck tech on Zamriel, Seraph of Steel. She is a 3/4 angel with flying, and as long as it's your turn, equipped creatures you control have indestructible. On her own she's not that great, but we'll be hoping to abuse that indestructible ability by wiping the board and having our creatures come into play with equipments already attached to them. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. So first up we have Ramp. We're running Heraldic Banner, Soul Ring and Arcane Signet. Heraldic Banner, when it enters the battlefield you choose a colour, and creatures of the chosen colour get +1/+0, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of the chosen colour. Considering we're playing a mono white deck, I think we'll be picking white. And we have Soul Ring, which is Soul Ring, it taps and adds 2 colourless. We have Arcane Signet, which taps for add 1 mana of any colour of your commander's colour identity. Essentially, 2 mana for a white. We're running Mind Stone, Marble Diamond, and Gold Vein Pick. Mind Stone, it taps to add a colourless, or you could pay 1 and tap it, to sacrifice it and draw a card. So that can be card draw when we need it. We're playing Marble Diamond, which enters the battlefield tapped, but it taps to add a white. And Gold Vein Pick, which is our first equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and when equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So we'll be hoping to capitalise on that. We're playing Starmheim Corsair, Denether, Capus and Paragon, and Foundry Inspector. Starmheim Corsair is a 2/2 Pegasus with flying, and it has artifact and enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less. Denether is a 2/2 human knight. She has First Strike, Vigilance and Lifelink, and Aura and equipment spells you cast cost 1 less. And Foundry Inspector, which is a 3/2 construct with artifact spells you cast cost 1 less. Pure and simply, if it's costing less, we might as well be making a free mana off it. And finally, we're running a little bit of catch up with Knight of the White Orchard and Loyal Warhound. Knight of the White Orchard is a 2/2 human knight with First Strike, and when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you search your library for a number of planes and put them onto the battlefield. That way you can catch up with them. And Loyal Warhound is a 3/1 dog with Vigilance, and he does the exact same thing, except his enter tapped. So, not as good, but still pretty good for catch up. And now that we've got our ramp sorted, let's talk about some of our beaters. First we've got Blackblade Reforged, the Colossus Hammer, and the Assault Suit. Blackblade Reforged says equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and equipped legendary of 3, normal equipped of 7. The Colossus Hammer gives equipped creature +10/+10 and loses flying, and it has an equip cost of 8. We do have ways in the deck to cheat these out onto whatever creature that we decide, and the Colossus Hammer is a little bit of a pet card of mine. Next we have the Assault Suit, which says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and haste, and can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, and can't be sacrificed. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of equipped creature, and if you do, untap it, with an equip cost of only 3. So it's really good for us just to give this to our commander, and then possibly share it around the table a little bit. That way, she is indestructible and cannot be hurt, and the table gets a little bit more damage. Next we have Sword of Vengeance, Haunted Cloak, and Loxodon Warhammer. Sword of Vengeance says equipped creature gets +2/+0, has First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste with an equip cost of only 3. That's pretty good. Haunted Cloak is equipped creature has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste with 1, which is even better. And then Loxodon Warhammer gives equipped creature +3/+0 and Trample with Lifelink. We have Heavenly Blademaster, Kembar Car Regent, and Gingerbrute. Heavenly Blademaster is a 3/6 angel with flying double strike, and when she enters the battlefield, you get a search. You may attach any number of auras and equipments you control to it, and other creatures you control get +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Kembar is a 2/4 cat, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 cat warrior token for each equipment attached to it. So we can suit these two up and absolutely make huge value of them. And finally we have Ginger Brute, which is a 1/1 food golem with haste. But we can pay 1, meaning that it can't be blocked except by creatures with haste, so it gets through pretty easily. Next we're running the Bloodforged Battle Axe, Odric Lunarch Marshal, and Golem Skin Gauntlets. Bloodforged Battle Axe has equipped a creature gets +2/+0, and whenever equipped a creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of Bloodforged Battle Axe. With us constantly hitting people, making more tokens, re-equipping, making more tokens, it's really going to get out of hand quickly. Odric Lunarch Marshal is a 3/3 human soldier with, at the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature you control is first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Whew, that's a lot to say. Essentially, he passes around all those key words to everybody that we have, which is even better in Equipment Deck where we're having a lot of keywords being thrown around. And finally, Golem Skin Gauntlets, equipped a creature gets +1/+0 for each equipment attached to it. Pretty simple, but still makes some pretty big beaters. Alright, now getting into some free equipment, we have Hero's Blade, Maul the Skyclaves, and Citizen Crowbar. Hero's Blade says equipped a creature gets +3/+2, and whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield, you may attach Hero's Blade to it. So this is a free equipment that we can put straight on our commander for just 2 mana. We have Maul the Skyclaves, which when it enters the battlefield, you attach it to target creature you control. That a creature gets +2/+2, has flying and first strike. And we're running Citizen's Crowbar. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature, and then attach Citizen's Crowbar to it. Equipped a creature gets +1/+1, and has white, tap, sacrifice Citizen's Crowbar, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So we could use this to destroy your opponent's artifact or enchantments, as well as it brings in a friend as soon as it comes in. Then we have Sickle Slicer, Skin Wing, and Flare Hust. These are all with Living Weapon, and Living Weapon states when this equipment enters the battlefield, you create a 0/0 black germ, and then attach this to it. So Sickle Slicer gives equipped a creature +2/+2, Skin Wing says equipped a creature has +2/+2 in flying, and Flare Hust gives equipped a creature +1/+1. Living Weapon is excellent in this deck. It allows us to instantly put it out, and then we could board wipe to destroy it and make sure that the equipment and the creature both are safe. We are running Cauldron Complete, Batterbone, and Bone Horde. Again, all equipments with Living Weapon. However, Cauldron Complete says it has Indestructible, equipped a creature gets +5/+5, first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a creature, you exile that creature. Batterbone gives equipped a creature +1/+1 and vigilance and lifelink, and Bone Horde says equipped a creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyard, so this can get perpetually bigger. We're also running Batterskull, Nettlecyst, and Nin Deathmantle. Batterskull and Nettlecyst both have Living Weapon. Batterskull giving the equipped creature +4/+4, vigilance and lifelink, and you can pay 3 to return Batterskull to its owner's hand. Therefore you can use it to possibly get out any artifact destructions, or you could just keep replaying it to get our card draw, even though it is a little bit expensive. Nettlecyst gives the equipped creature +1/+1 for each artifact or equipment or enchantment you control. Since we're running a lot of equipments, the creature that Nettlecyst is going to be on is going to be huge. Nim Deathmantle says equipped creature gets +2/+2, has Intimidate, and is a black zombie. And whenever a non-token creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 4, and if you do, return that card to the battlefield attached to Nim Deathmantle. Again, another great way for recursion. We're running Ardent Interpret Archaeologist, Ariok Windwalker, and Mantle of the Ancients. Arden says it's a 2/2 Core Scout, which says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipments you control to target permanent or player. It's a great way to cheat all our equipments onto one creature, or as many as we please if we just have a few lying around. We have Ariok Windwalker, which is a 2/3 human wizard with flying, and you can tap it to attach target equipment you control to target creature you control. And we are running Mantle of the Ancients, which says enchant creature you control. When Mantle of the Ancient enters the battlefield, return any number of target aura or equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to enchanted creature. An enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment you attach to it. So it's a great way to make sure that we're constantly recurring our equipments, especially if any of them get destroyed. Alright, and now getting into card draw, we're running Cut a Deal, Your Temple is Under Attack, and Secret Rendezvous. Cut a Deal makes each opponent draw a card, and then you draw a card for each opponent who drew a card this way. So yes, you're giving every opponent one card, but you're getting 3. Your Temple Under Attack has choose 1, pray for protection, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn, or strike a deal, you and target opponent each draw 2 cards, so it's really good for protecting your board on an opponent's turn, or just getting some of those cards. And Secret Rendezvous is you and target opponent each draw 3 cards. Pretty basic. We're running Mentor of the Meek, Battle Angels of Tar, and SRAM Senior Artificer. Mentor of the Meek is a 2/2 human soldier with whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1, and if you do draw a card, most of our creatures, even our equipment germs, will be 2 or less, so we'll be drawing these cards. Battle Angels of Tarkar is a 4/4 Night Angel. It is flying and myriad, so when it attacks an opponent, you create a token copy of Battle Angels of Tar, attacking each other opponent. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if that player has more cards in hand than each other player, then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player, and then you gain 3 life for that if that player has more life than each other player. So you're going to be getting at least 1 card, at least a treasure, and at least a life, providing your opponents are a little bit more ahead than you. And then we're running Shram, which is a 2/2 Dwarf Advisor with whenever you cast an aura, equipment or vehicle spell, you draw a card. Very simple, so this is what we're really going to be relying on when we're bouncing like a batter skull constantly to our hand. Then we're running a couple of little tutors of Open the Armory and Ingenious Smith. Open the Armory says search your library for an aura equipment, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And Ingenious Smith is a 1/1 human artificer. And when it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand, then put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order. And whenever 1 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. It only triggers once each turn. So Ingenious Smith is slowly going to grow, and getting those artifacts into our hand, which will be our equipments, does keep our card draw up. And then we're just running some great recursion and card draw in Sun Titan and Solemn Simulacrum. Sun Titan is a 6/6 giant with vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get a return target permanent with mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, so which is again a lot of our library. And Solemn Simulacrum is a 2/2 golem with when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and when it dies, you may draw a card. So a little bit of kickback on when he's dying. Alright, now we're getting into some protection. We're running Swiftfoot Boots, Mirror Shield, and Commander's Plates. Swiftfoot Boots is an equipment that gives a cryptid creature hexproof and haste. Mirror Shield gives a cryptid creature +0/+2 and hexproof, and whenever a creature with Death Touch blocks or becomes blocked by this creature, destroy that creature. And Commander's Plate, cryptid creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from each colour that's not in your commander's colour identity. So the equipped creature has protection from all colours other than white. We are running Plate Armour and Thran Suit. Plate Armour gives equipped creature +3/+3 and has Ward 1. And the equipped ability costs 1 less to activate for each other equipment you control. Thran Power Suit gives equipped creature +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it, and it has Ward 2. And finally we're running Bronze Guardian, Leonin, Abunis, and Cloudsteel Kirin. Bronze Guardian has a golem with star 5 and has double strike and Ward 2, and other artifacts you control also have Ward 2, and its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, so he's a great protection, as well as you can suit him up and swing in for huge numbers. Leonin is a 2/5 cat cleric, which is just artifacts you control have hexproof, and Cloudsteel Kirin is a Kirin, which is a 3/2 creature. He has flying, and equipped creature has flying, and you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game, and he has Reconfigure 5. So it's a great little Platinum Angel effect that we can get as soon as he's equipped. and then if we make sure that we're protecting him with the ward and the hexproof, then it's a lot more difficult, well, it's actually impossible for our opponents to win the game at all. Now we're getting into the destroy everything part of the deck, running Dismantling Wave, Patrician Scorn, and Cleanfall. Dismantling Wave says for each opponent, destroy up to one target artifact or enchantment that player controls, so we can deal with our opponent's enchantments or artifacts if we need. Patrician Scorn says if you played another white spell this turn, you may play this without paying its mana cost. Pretty damn good. And you destroy all enchantments. And Cleanfall says the same thing, where you just destroy all enchantments, however it is at sorcery speed. We are running Sublime Exhilaration, Doomscar, and Dusk and Dawn. Sublime Exhilaration is a sorcery which has Undaunted, so it costs 1 less for each opponent, which for us is 3, and destroy all creatures. Doomscar, we can foretell it by paying 2, and then to reduce its cost, so we just destroy all creatures. And Dusk says destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, and the Aftermath part of it says return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand, so it can get back some of our protection creatures as well as even our draw effects. And finally, we're running Shatter the Sky and World Slayer. Shatter the Sky has each player who controls a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card and then destroy all creatures. And World Slayer says whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer. So World Slayer is great in this deck. Essentially, we can equip this onto our commander or a creature with flying and just hit a single opponent and then destroy all of our opponent's stuff. And it says all permanents, this does include lands, so you essentially lock them out of the game, and because all of our stuff is indestructible, we just slowly win. As for our mana base, we're running Buried Ruin, Myriad Landscape, and Windbrisk Heights. Buried Ruin taps for a colourless, or you can pay 2 and sacrifice it to return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Myriad Landscape enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap to add a colourless, or pay 2 and tap to sacrifice it and get 2 basic lands that share a land type onto the battlefield, which is for us 2 planes. And Windbrisk Height has Hideaway 4, so when it enters the battlefield you look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 of them face down, the rest at the bottom of your library in random order. It does enter tapped, but taps for a white, and you can pay white to tap it and play the exile card without paying its mana cost if you attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn. And finally, we're only running 31 basic planes in this deck, making the total land count 34. So Zamriel is a really fun commander to play with, especially with having all your equipped creatures being indestructible. It can make for some very interesting turns. It does go semi-infinite with World Eater, but that is a known combo with Zargo, Helm Smasher, and is known to make some people a little bit salty, particularly because nobody really likes all their lands being blown up. So this deck was built with a bit of a budget in mind. I did want to keep under $100, and it just scrapes in at $96.68, excluding basic lands, but including the commander. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.